the team to break that this year?
I think we're just focused on gymnastics, and if we do fix all of these little details, I really think that we can do it with this team.
With the Friday and Monday meet, do you guys prepare any differently?
A little bit. We kind of back off on all the tumbling and vaulting and stuff like that, just to give our bodies a rest for the next couple days and all the meets we have in a row, but that's really the only thing. We still do routines on bars and beam, and it's just backing off a little on all the pounding.
How difficult is it to perform after flying all the way to North Carolina?
I think it's not too bad because we had the weekend to kind of, adjust and get back to the time and after competing, so it felt pretty normal with a full day of rest.
I think he was talking about when you go out there and then compete.
Oh, is that what
Yeah.
it was? Sorry. It was fine. We went out there and we had that day we got there to kind of rest, and we had to kind of stay up a little later to adjust because Cedar is 2 hours earlier. So we kind of just tried to stick to our regular schedule we would have in Cedar.
We kind of forced him to stay up pretty late. It sounds stupid, but we did.
Forcing could be interpreted a whole lot of different ways, but was there any sort of just being sociable, better, a bonding kind of thing, or?
Yeah, we took him downstairs into one of the conference rooms and slapped him around a little bit to wake him up. No, we took him downstairs and we did we always do a little warm up and stretch out and everything before, the day before a meet. And, and that we really didn't do anything different out there. We just did a little bit later than we normally would to force them to stay up a little bit so that they didn't go to bed at 6 or 7 because they were all exhausted from the entire day of traveling because they had to wake up at 3. And, so we didn't want them to go to bed at 6 normal time and then get 14 or 15 hours of sleep and be just dragging all day. So we tried to keep them on as much of their normal schedule as possible.
Is that your only big long trip?
No, we go to Michigan here in a few
Oh,
weeks
that's
too.
Same time zone.
Yeah, it's not going to be any easier.
Well, Scotty, so what about you? How impressed have you been about this team so far?
Thoroughly. This team, we learned a lot about this team in many ways. The first meet, we just kind of ran through that pretty slick, pretty easily. The girls really didn't have a lot of adversity that they had to work through, but this meet they kind of did. With the long travel day, then the great thing about this team is that they really don't have excuses or any of that crap. There's no drama. This team's actually quite magnificent to coach that way. But, we had an early fall in our first rotation on bars with Becky Roja, a very uncharacteristic fall. And then, and then the rest of the team, really, Danny and then Kurt, Becky's followed by 2 of the best bar workers in the country, 3 of them. And, and then to see Madison McBride go up last as a freshman on the anchor spot and get up and do a great bar routine. That was nice to see what she would be able to do under that kind of pressure, so you're always trying to learn in these kind of situations. And then when we went to beam and we had a very uncharacteristic fall out of Tyler Bazzuto, our first athlete up, and then to watch the next 6, including our exhibition kid, get up and hit their beam routines. Not great, but they hit them and they stayed on and they fought. And those are the things that we're trying to fix, not just trying to stay on. Sometimes teams will, if they get ahead like we were 1.5 points or so ahead of NC State out there, some teams will just try not to lose the meet, and we want them to continue to be aggressive and go after their routines aggressively and not just try to stay on. And I think we did a little bit of that. But Stacy and Danny were true examples of they know what it takes to win meets like that, and they just aggressively attack their beam routines, and they were clearly rewarded for that because nobody else was even close to their scores in scoring out there.
The timing of, I guess, when if the fall happens with the leadoff athlete on any event, does that you try not to, do you have to say anything to them to keep their heads on straight so it doesn't spread?
No, Tom. If we have to say anything to them at that point, we have truly failed as coaches in the entire preseason. These guys are This is a very well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing. They know how to go out there and do it. They know that they need, if something happens like that, that it really doesn't matter on their routine. And I think they have all figured that out, including our freshmen who seem to be very knowledgeable. Because Autumn Jorgensen got up, after Tylee's fall and did a great beam routine. So.
When it comes to the beam troubles, especially with that being your last event on Friday, does that concern you at all that like you guys weren't able to close or the pressure got to you?
No, not at all. I actually, and after going over the meet, I think the girls did a great job. No, I wouldn't even consider that really beam troubles. We didn't kind of fall. We just didn't do our. We just were a little bit tighter than we should have been, and when they get up there, because Kirsty Yee's funny. She's a very interesting human being in and of herself, but she takes a little bit to get going in the season, whereas Danny and Stacy, they've been beam competitors since their freshman year. They know and Tylee, they know what they're doing up there. Yee is, she just made it onto our beam team last year and at the end of the year, so she's going to take a little bit longer to get going, and once she does, she's a phenomenal beam worker. So yeah, she'll be fine, and I'm not even worried about it. She didn't fall. She actually made a good. She had to think on her feet up on balance beam because she missed her series the first time. Kind of did the entire beam routine and then did her series at the end of the beam, which we're all thinking this is going to be a train wreck. And she made it, and she did it great. So when you're up there ad-libbing on beam, it's not really the best situation, but she made the most out of it. So I was really proud of her.
So why do you think she takes a while to get going?
It's just Yee, she's just a funny kid. She's just a different bird. She's wonderful, though. I mean, I wouldn't trade her for anything. And we're very lucky that we could keep her for another year. But, yeah, it's, Kirsty just takes time to find her rhythm in competition that way. And I think she's doing it more and more every meet.
Hey.
Cool, thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thank
Danny.
you.
Of course, they.
we'll open it up for questions.
A good weekend at both places, Idaho State and UW. Giving the athletes opportunities to improve on the performances and set the stage for what we hope to be a good run in the conference championship. And so I think all in all, when I look at the performances from the throwers and the sprinters and the distance runners, it looks as if we're on the right track, and I think we'll be ready for this indoor championship.
You guys have a history of loving UW being very successful there. What was the highlight that you loved most from the weekend up there?
I think the DMR. I mean, because the distance medley relay, because we keep a track of the top 5 performances, throughout our history, and anytime it seems as if anytime we do well in the DMR, we do well at the conference championship. And I think it's an indication of maybe how strong we are, because you use a sprinter, you use a middle distance person, and you use two distance athletes, and to break that record, I think it speaks to how strong our program is this year. And so, and I think just the fact that we get up in the University of Washington and compete against some very good programs, it forces you to raise the level.
What does the breaking these records early in the season do for this team?
I think for them it gives them a clear understanding that what we're doing works, and they're moving throughout the training sessions and getting better. And when you look at the history of the program, I mean, all the conference championships we've won, when you're breaking records against program history that won conference championships, I think it gives them a boost of confidence that we're doing the right things and we're moving forward, and we're developing with the competition, and we're growing with the competition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So how do you improve on that? Is there like ever a time where you think the athletes are complacent because of how fast they're going so early?
No, I mean, I address that in our team culture, basically, that I've said this before. These guys know what I mean by it. I have this phrase called flatliners, and I address that issue. And flatliners are people that are on gurneys, and they can't get a pulse out of them. But sometimes they're walking around, and they're just there. And so I address that issue, that you're not here to be a flatliner. You're not here just to punch the clock. We don't have a lot of time, to really not be engaged, because we move from one conference championship to another. So it's really important for me to keep emphasizing, this arena is just, and how we approach our competition and our training and our attitudes is really just a reflection of how life is going to be in the next arena. And so if you can, you can master that, or come close to really understanding that and appreciating that, and adding and bringing something to the table, I think it sets the stage for you to be successful in that next arena.
Brendan, can you take us through the DMR a little bit, just kind of how it went down?
Well, I know definitely we could have ran faster, but we still ran good. It was Casey. He gave us a good 1200 leg, and he got us in a pretty good place. I kept the place in the 400. George brought us up a little bit, and then Josh, he just went after it, got to first, and tried to stay there till the end, but that's okay. And it was just pretty fun. It was really fun just to be in that environment, because I'd never been to Washington, or that's that big of a stage. And there's a lot of people there, and I just had a lot of fun doing it.
How much confidence does it give you guys knowing that you could have ran better, but you still broke the school record?
I think it gives us a lot of confidence, because we know in our heads that we could go faster. So we just trying to keep working to get there, pretty much.
Brandon or George, Coach was remarking about the flatliners. Have you ever had Have you ever had a day where you were ever close to it at any point this season?
I believe for the most part, I try to bring in to practice just like a very positive attitude, like probably even more than positive, more like ecstatic. But I don't really feel like any day I try to like think that I'm a flatliner or I'm just like there just to get through the day, or that's usually what it means. Just like you're just there to just get through it.
There's something that you have that you can offer, that you bring, and you can move, put it in for everybody, and help everybody else picks up on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what were the emotions when you guys broke the record?
That's cool.
Yeah, it was like it was pretty exciting, but we all knew that we could have ran faster, so that kind of like just made us think a little bit.
Well, we went up there to specifically to focus on the distance medley relay, because I think the last qualifying mark into the NCAA was
It's like
9:31.
Yeah.
9:31, and that qualifier went on to actually win the national title. And so when you calculate how fast these guys are actually running, if we can put it all together, I believe we can run 9:31. I believe we can get, even a little bit lower, which I would hope would push us into the national championship. Then once you get there, I mean, anything's possible. It's as we have seen. But it is difficult to get in there, because if we finish out at 9:35, between 9:35 and 9:31, there may be 100 schools, between those two times. So if we can get beyond that and into the 9:31s, which I've calculated, we have that ability. It could catapult us into the national championship. And once you get there, sometimes that's just a feather in your cap, because it's so difficult to get to the national championship indoors. And so the plan now that we went through it is to get them to Notre Dame and try to qualify at Notre Dame in the distance medley relay is now the plan.
George, you mentioned the DMR team broke the school record last year. What do you feel like the biggest difference is from that team to this team this season?
Well, for the most part, it's that 1 second between the last school record and this one. But other than that, it's just like at that time when we broke the school record, it was such a big thing, because it wasn't just like the 1 second difference. It was like 10 seconds, and it was so big for our school because it hasn't been broken in so long. And then like us breaking it this year just shows that we're so capable of like so much more, because everyone right after the race, they were like, oh, we can do so much better, there's so many improvements. Because when we went through that DMR, it was just a bunch of rough handoffs and just like trying to get through, just pushing and shoving from the starting line to the finish. But then we just kind of managed through that, and we were like, if we can just fix these little things, then we can do so much better.
Coach, is it pretty typical to have this many school records go down in a season, or is this a little abnormal?
I think early on, a number of years back, it was happening quite often. But now the marks are so strong. I mean, they're marks. You got All-Americans that hold some of those marks, and all conference athletes that hold those marks. And so to see them break like that, I mean, especially with the age of the team, that I think is unusual. To start breaking records that have been established by great athletes is not something that happens all the time.
Great. Hey, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe
Big week for us. Obviously, the division leader in Weber State on Thursday, and then Idaho State on Saturday. So it's a bus trip for us, which is nice, and we get to stay in state for one. But they're kind of the class of the Big Sky right now, so it's going to be a good measuring stick for us to see where our improvement is on the road here.
You guys are in-state opponents, but you're kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Is this a rivalry at all?
I think the game has significance. I do think the game has significance. Anytime it's an in-state opponent, it's just some natural things that come into play. And obviously, I haven't been here, that long, and most of our team hasn't really get a great feel for it. But anytime it's, there's some natural things that make it a game of significance. Let's put it that way.
What would it mean for the program, not just necessarily to beat the in-state team, but to beat the class of the league, as you said?
Well, that's the most important thing. Is we're working towards our process, and every time that we can come out and make steps in it. And these games are measuring sticks for us, and sometimes there's things in the games that maybe the public doesn't really see that we get excited about. We've showed strides in multiple areas to where we think we're improving despite not having the tangible results, and you always want those tangible results, but it's playing a team like Weber that's going to test you in so many individual categories as a team. You get excited for that challenge and to see exactly, okay, where is this area of our defense now? Have we improved this? Where are we at X, Y, and Z, and how how far along do we have to go, and how far along have we come from where we started? So that's kind of the nice part about these games is we're trying to get to a level of play and raising the bar on our guys, and this gives us a chance to see where we're at.
When it comes, I remember the first couple wins, you talked about how it offered some validation for your guys for all the work that they were doing. Have you been able to see things in games to give them a sense of validation? We're a very film-laden team. We do a ton of film, guys individually, and so we're seeing some strides that get us excited. And Jacob's a great example of that. He from where he was in the fall, to winter to conference play has been an astronomical leap. Extremely proud of him, and things like that are what we really get encouraged about, and for all intents and purposes, when this light really comes on, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be scoring a ton of points in this league and playing in major games for a long time, and that's some of the stuff that as we get into film we start looking at it and say, I think guys individually can see that as well. And when guys can see their own individual growth, I think it's valuable. Was there a moment when you realized Jacob was starting to get it? Yeah, I think it's he's always got such a natural gift for scoring, and we trust him. We want him to shoot, we want him to score. But I think as he's gotten more confident in the defensive end, being loud and being out there and getting more physical and all those things, I think it just kind of started to come more natural that, hey, this is what it takes to help us win. So there was a little period, I think, right around when we came back from Christmas break. I think it was a good break, and he came in, kind of took his spot. Jake, why do you think you were able to just jump into the lineup so quickly?
I don't know about quickly, but the start of conference play, I wasn't really playing a whole lot, and then just practice came, and coaches were telling me if I worked hard in practice and talked on defense, get my chance. So I started doing that, and just kept trying to do everything right.
So did you realize that you were starting to get it, or was it one of those things you just finally got your chance?
It was kind of a little bit of both. It was, when we do 30 seconds of perfect defense, and my team wouldn't be out there for a really long amount of time, and then we'd get done, we'd be on offense, and be like, oh, well, maybe if I keep talking, I won't have to play defense forever in practice.
Because I think it was like 3 games you didn't play at all, and then you're suddenly starting. What was that? What was your or emotions when you were told that you were going to be starting that day?
It wasn't like a day decision type thing. It was in practice. Coach just put me on the first unit one time and kind of stuck there. So, I mean, it was a nice feeling, but we still need to win these games more than anything.
How difficult has it been to, like, I guess, celebrate yourself? Like, hey, I am doing better, but also have that team aspect of you guys that haven't been winning games.
I don't know. I don't really say I've been celebrating myself. I'm kind of just trying to do what it takes for us to win. If that's me being out there, then I'll try to play hard when I'm out there.
Is there any game-specific moment that you've seen of yourself on film where you think, wow, I did this awesome? Because sometimes you're always self-critiquing, but there has to be something that you would think that it's like, wow, this was good.
I think I've been getting stronger at taking the ball to the basket on offense and not really turning the ball over as much. And the game kind of seems like it's slowing down in the sense of, like, at the start of the year, you can play like super quick and like tense, and now I feel like I'm playing more relaxed.
Was that just getting reps, or?
I think it's a little bit of both and confidence, I guess.
So how do you build that confidence when you're really not getting a lot of playing time?
I mean, I've always been like a scorer and try to always be confident when I'm on offense, and defense has always been a question for me. So when I start getting stops and stuff, that helps me build confidence on offense.
So, Coach, when did you start actually trying on the defensive end?
You know what? He always gave us his effort. You know, and a lot of it was just teaching his technique. You know, and then I think the sense of urgency, which is all freshmen. You know that they, you know, and if you look at it, being truthfully, if we kind of looked at it in house in our league, there's not very many freshmen playing. Period. And you know, as we go through every single game and do scouting reports and look, and you don't see freshmen behind very many names, and we have a lot of them coming. But that urgency is, you know, what people face every year is trying to get that going. And I think once we establish that, and you know, some of that is more, you know, it's a push and pull process, you know, and then once you kind of get that message across that, hey, it's an every possession thing, and every second matters while you're out there. You know, it's always an ongoing process, but you know, Jacob's extremely coachable. I mean, that's one of his best attributes, and one of the reasons why he's going to be, you know, a spectacular player is he takes coaching phenomenally well, and he grows from it, and that's, for a freshman, that's about as big a compliment as you get, because it just shows you where their ceiling is.
Todd, has there ever, even with all the frustrations of the games and the losses that they've been piling up, have you found any moments of brevity, moments of lightheartedness in practice and game situations?
Oh yeah,
I mean, bring out the funny a little bit.
Yeah, you have to in this deal, because you know I believe that, I believe there's probably about 100 teams of 351 that have probably checked out already, because the pressures and the external pressures, the voices that are there tear apart teams, and then when there's lack of success, if it ceases to be, if guys cease to be motivated, or if they cease to at least enjoy the process a little bit, I think there's going to be, you know, I think teams shut down, and I think by mid-February, just in my opinion, I think over half of Division I's just about ready just for the season to be over, and so you know, so those are factors you can't come in these days and be a general and just put guys on the line and run them to death and run teams in the ground and expect them to perform for you. That's not what this generation really is about, and nor should it be. I think you're going to have a collective. You know, it's like raising a family almost when you have a young team, because it's a constant, you know, push and pull and put an arm around them, and love them off the court. I mean, we love all of our guys, and between the lines, we're gonna do what it takes to get them improved. And some days that means fire and brimstone, and other days that means, you know, let's scale this back a little bit and get these guys smiling a little bit so they're enjoying their time. So it's a constant push and pull.
Who has the best comedic talent in the team?
Let's see who. What do you
James,
think?
James was pretty funny.
James has got good. He's got good timing. He's got a good sense of humor.
Busting of chops and such.
Oh yeah. He's got a dry sense of humor.
Braden's also a pretty funny guy, but I don't know if he means to be funny sometimes.
It just comes out.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I wouldn't have thought he was the comedian of the group.
Yeah. They got a good lighthearted group, and you know, it's good. It's good. The maturity's coming to the point now, and you know, we doing music and doing stuff to kind of keep the tempo of practice up and get some different ways to enjoy the experience, and you know, it's a long ride otherwise.
So you haven't seen any like hanging of the heads or anyone getting too disappointed?
You know, the practices are still fantastic. I mean, we had a very competitive raise the bar practice where we just literally worked on half court defense for 2 hours yesterday, and you know, it was good for us. You know, or hey, this is where the bar is, and we're going to reach it or not. But at the same time, you know, guys don't sulk. They didn't pout. They just tried. They tried and tried, and we got to do that in the games. And you know, it's like a lot of the reps that we have very good reps in practice, and sometimes in games we show lapses where we revert or try to do too much. A lot of it's in games where we're finding guys doing stuff too hard. You know, it's not their help. You're doing someone else's job, and you know, that's what we're trying to cut down on. Is okay, in practice we do it perfect, and in the game we try to do someone else's job because we're trying so hard to win. But that sometimes there's a breaking point where going too hard and doing someone else's job becomes counterproductive. So those are the little discipline things that, you know, we can't hang our head. We can't get too high, too low. We just got to do our jobs in games too, not just practice.
Anything else? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Start with the opening statement, reviewing your home games, and we'll open it up for questions.
Exciting week for our team, for our program. Obviously, number one, be back home, and then have Weber and Idaho State are, you know, two games that typically are circled on the schedule every year, especially the Weber game. And with the way the schedule works this year, you only get them the one time, so you got to take advantage. And luckily, the fact that we have a home and expect and plan to have a good crowd out supporting, and it's kind of that in-state rivalry game that we look forward to, and just excited to get back on the court and continue to improve and hopefully the girls see the rewards of their hard work with a couple of wins this week.
How important is the Weber State game?
You know, it's funny because as SUU went into the Big Sky and things, up to that point there wasn't the natural rivalry. There was more the rivalry between maybe a UVU and SUU, because UVU had gone independent and was trying to battle for that in-state recruit. When I was at UVU, it seemed like Southern Utah was a bigger nemesis, or we were recruiting the same people. But as our staff has gotten here, and as the Big Sky has developed, and and we were doing what they did last year in making a run in the postseason at the WBCI tournament. They've gained more traction in relevance in the state, maybe. Obviously more than us and Utah Valley, and Utah State hasn't been up there as far as postseason runs in the past little while. So they're a team that has some notoriety because of what they did, and so it's developing more and more just because in the same conference, after the same type of kids, and bragging rights in the state, and we're trying to get to that level where we can make a run in the postseason and consistently build or have a consistently built program that whether it's through the media, whether it's through high school coaches, whether that the talk of relevancy in the state of Utah, you want your name to be in that mix. And with 6 universities there, it's tough, if you're not making a run in the postseason. So especially when you go head to head, having that when you go into recruits home or when you're talking to high school coaches or people around, it's a pretty big deal, and so that just kind of pushes that rivalry up. They don't have a ton of Utah kids yet right now on their roster, and so there's not that natural, I played with this kid in club ball, and sometimes you get that in the BYU-Utah rivalry, Utah State. But as they've recruited from out of state more than in state, you don't have so much the players, but the state and the conference and proximity just make it a natural rivalry that continues to intensify.
Are you disappointed you only get them once this year, or does that make this even more special?
No, we love being able to play in the state. The fan support that we get, so anytime that you get 2 games in the state of Utah, that it's a better scenario for both us and them, I believe. So we would rather play them twice, and even though Beth Ann's had our number since I've been on staff, and we haven't been able to get over the hump and beat them, I'd rather play them twice every year and have another team that travel-wise and support-wise is harder to get to out of the mix and be playing them.
When it comes to the traveling thing, it would make sense for you guys to always play twice. Is that why did the schedule work out the way it did?
Yeah, the parity of, as they, because there's 10, 12 teams, you can't play everybody twice and still have a good preseason schedule. So the way they did it with you're playing 8 of the teams home and home, and 4 of the teams you flip-flop who it is. So the matrix that they have planned out over a 5-year deal that gets everybody to play everybody equal number of times is their deal, and it works out. But I do believe that it's from year to year it can be a disadvantage, because last year we go play Montana on the road when they're one of the top teams in the conference, and this year we don't get them at home, and now they're with us right now at the bottom of the conference, and not being able to play them twice changes the opportunities for seeding in the tournament. But in the long run it all works out. Interesting to see what's going to happen and transpire with North Dakota leaving, and how that schedule now will have to change and be adjusted to try to make it equal again, and so there's changes on the horizon for scheduling as well, and hopefully the Southern Utah Weber State game becomes one of those that is scheduled every year twice.
Yeah, I would have thought they would do the same as what they do in football, but
right.
But whatever.
Dari, being from Southern Utah, does the rivalry mean anything a little extra to you, or is it?
Yeah, I kind of think so. Just because it's like because they don't really look at Utah kids, and so like I've kind of been up there, and they just don't really look at you, and so it's kind of like if we beat them, it's like I got the better school for sure, Yeah.
Barry, what's been the most frustrating part about this streak? I mean, because you've had games where you just were leading really big in the fourth quarter and just couldn't finish. What's the hardest part about dealing with the streak as you have gone day to day?
I think really just like looking at that we're 0-9, just seeing that it kind of feels like we shouldn't be, but like we're getting better, we're playing hard, we're really close, we're gonna get over the hump and then it'll be good. But I think right now it's
once
just
you get one, then it leads to 2 and 3.
yeah.
What's the feel like in the locker room right now? Got a month, you still got a whole month of basketball left for the tournament. What are you guys kind of feeling right now?
I think it doesn't feel like anyone's like really down. I know it's like the grind of the season, like everyone's kind of getting wore out, but like it does, because last year when we were losing, it felt like, oh, we're just not gonna win. But this year it feels a lot better.
Well, what's different about this year versus last year?
I think part of it is the girls on the team. Like, they all want to compete. Like, we all want to win, and we all want to be there and play. And last year, there weren't as many that wanted to really be there and be playing.
Coach, what are you doing to try to keep everyone's head up at this point?
You know, that's the hardest thing is trying to be creative and positive. Kind of like Dari said last year, we as a coaching staff still were trying to find ways to motivate and keep them motivated, keep them engaged in every practice and see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, especially with the tournament coming up, that anything can happen. But it was harder last year because we didn't have the weapons that we do. We didn't have the depth that we have. This year, it's frankly been a little bit easier because, number one, did a great job in the preseason building team unity and team chemistry, and so they're really I feel connected and pulling for each other. And then two is we've had enough success in the preseason against teams that are still having success that we know what we're capable of. And so we continue to talk about what our potential is and what are the few little things that can turn a game and that we need to do. And so there's identifiable things that, in one game it might be free throw shooting. Like North Dakota, we missed 8 or 9 free throws in a 2-point game with 30 seconds left. It changes the dynamics of that team. And so, let's get in and put the extra time in there. Some games it's been turning the ball over in the fourth quarter in crucial situations. Well, let's work on those game situations and making an effort to correct some of the things that can make that change. I think focuses them on the positive. And then just the reality of the matter, we're 9 games through an 18-game conference schedule, and here's what lies ahead of us. And potentially there's 5 or 6 games that are winnable games out there that if we continue to just do the right things and focus on the process, we're going to end up getting one. And like Tom said, one leads to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, or who knows where it can go. But if we can get momentum and build going into the tournament, already, I don't know who in the conference is not afraid to play Southern Utah, coming up. Every coach that we get ready for, they're like, man, it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen tonight, but you're going to get that breakthrough. And when it does, look out, conference. And I think we feel that same way. It's tough to be in that spot and over, not be able to close out a game. But when you can put that all into perspective, the team is motivated by that, and I hope staying focused on the process of it, and that's why being able to get over the hump and them see the fruits of their hard work would be a great turning point, I think, for the season for us.
Have any of your coaching counterparts in the pregame handshakes or postgame said anything to you about the streak and how they didn't want to be the victim?
Yeah, in Northern Colorado last weekend, before the game, she made mention of that, and then after the game, because we came out and had such a good first quarter, and got them on their heels, she's like, I was honestly just thinking that, here we go, we're going to be the team, and kept motivating my team through every timeout, because same thing that you did to North Dakota. You raced a 14-16 point lead, and you can't sleep on these guys. They're going to come back and they're going to fight to the end. So quite a few coaches, we continue to talk and make mention of it. And, that's, as a coach, that it's important that the girls understand that as well, that people see and recognize that they're fighters and that they're improving, and that they're laying it all out, and that it's going to happen. But we talk about it all the time. We don't feel like we're 0-9, and it's unfortunate that's what the record is, but we feel like we're right there at that 500 mark. There's only 3 or 4 games that teams actually beat us, and we didn't beat ourselves, and so hopefully we can make those adjustments and turn things around this week.
How do you keep your sense of humor through all of this? And Dari, how do you?
That's it. It's all about perspective. We've got a great bunch of girls, and there's things on road trips and at home and in practice that happen that keep us reminded of what life is really about, and how important some things are, and how important others are really not. And so we create opportunities to look and to laugh and to, but there are times, there's moments where it's, especially right after the game, where emotions and moods and things are down, but waking up the next morning and moving forward and with a positive mindset is who we are, and so we continually try to do that and stay focused on the positive parts of things, and a good sense of humor is a good way of battling through it.
Yeah. Daria, are there any incidents that have been happening on road trips to, coming back from events, that are safe and worth mentioning that you would qualify as funny?
The last dinner we had at Texas Roadhouse, the waiter was hitting on Coach Yance, and it was really great.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Anything else? No. Thanks, guys. It's a good one to end on.